Hello, I'm your host Jim McClean. Welcome back to another episode of the Banterflix movie review show here on NvTv. Let's see what movies we'll be talking about tonight. We'll be reviewing Rumours, which is out in cinemas now. Our pick of the streams is Joy on Netflix. And as the countdown to Christmas continues, we'll be chatting about our latest festive choice, Dear Santa on Paramount Plus. So that's what we've lined up for you this week, and joining me in the studio here in Belfast is Zara Jackson.
Hi, Jim.
And Hamish Calvert.
Hi, Jim.
Hello to you both. We have a packed show, but there is one thing we have to get over and done with. So Christmas can begin, the festive season and merriment can get underway. We had a slight delay last week. I apologise, viewers. I apologise. But the Banterflix Christmas light has to be switched on. We can't do it here in the studio. I'm sorry, Hamish, I know you want to. Zara, I know you want to, but we can't. So we have a top celeb this year. Top. Capital T-O-P. Last year, we had Paul Chuckle. The year before that, we had Sean Williamson, a.k.a. Barry from EastEnders. Fab job. This year, I think we've outdone ourselves through the power of cameo. We will admit that. But before we get underway and we let our guest, who's busting at the bit to get the countdown going, I'm going to throw it out to you both, and I'll come to you first, Sarah. Who do you think our mystery guest who will have the honour of turning on the Banterflix Christmas lights here in the studio in 2024, who do you think they could be?
I mean, is Brad Pitt a wrong guess? Is that too much?
Brad Pitt's never been a wrong guess for anyone. So there we go, we have Brad Pitt. Hamish?
Well, I'm just looking at that lovely green Christmas tree and I'm thinking of a certain press tour that's been going on at the minute, and I feel like Ariana Grande could maybe squeeze in the switch on as part of that wicked press tour with such a wicked Christmas tree. It's got to be Ariana.
We are feeling the wave of positivity that is coming from that press tour. I do feel you maybe have both been overzealous in your guesses, but I appreciate that. I like to think how far Banterflix has come this year. But for now, without any further ado, it's over to our top guest to turn on the Christmas tree.
Hello everybody, it is in fact I, Zach Galligan, the lead actor in Gremlins 1, 2, many other fine cinematic endeavors, along with my buddy Gizmo, who's going to join me for this particular cameo, as he and I are going to turn on, or help switch on, and do a countdown for the studio's Christmas lights. Let's get straight to it, shall we? 3, 2, 1. Switch it on! Yay! We love Christmas lights.
So that, of course, is Zach Galligan of Gremlins fame, switching on our lights here this year in the studio. So I know our two guests here, you aimed high. Brad Pitt, Ariana Grande, maybe next year. Either of you might be watching, who knows? As we say, Wicked Part 2 is out next year, Hamish and Brad Pitt. I'm sure we can get Brad, Zara. But I guess while we have you here, Gremlins, Christmas movie, turns 40 this year. A bona fide Christmas classic. Is it a classic in the Jackson household, Zara?
Absolutely, yes. Love this film. I think they do something really well where they have a really unempathetic subject matter, but they make the film really sweet and the main character really adorable, and it's just a lovely it's just a lovely movie. I really enjoyed it. I came late to this film. I only watched it maybe in the last 5 years, but when I saw it I knew what I'd missed, basically.
No, it's a lot of fun. Joe Dante at his finest. Who doesn't love Little Gremlins? Sitting in the cinema, enjoying the big screen experience with Cinderella. It's a Christmas movie that it's got teeth. It's nasty when it wants to be. It's icky when it wants to be. And so much practical effects. We have a stripping gremlin. What's not to like in that? It's a lot of fun. And I think it stood the test of time because all those things I've mentioned. And as I say, because it's got, no pun intended, it's got a bit of teeth. Hamish, are you a Gremlins fan?
Oh, absolutely. It's not Christmas till your woman's being thrown out the window on her chairlift.
without a doubt, we have Gremlin carol singers as well. So look, yes, I think we are now suitably now in the festive spirit. Zach has switched on the lights. Christmas can commence here in Belfast, across Northern Ireland, shall we say. And on that note, let's move on and talk about some movie news.
7, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war.
So that's a look at 28 years later. The trailer dropped early this week. Very excited about this. Danny Boyle returning to the 28 Days franchise, I guess you want to call it. Returning to horror. Cillian Murphy, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who may or may not possibly be the next Bond. We don't know. I know he's been muted for that role. I'm pretty excited about this. Out next year. Hamish, I'll come to you first. I don't know if you're a horror fan or not, but are you excited for this film?
Yeah, I am a horror fan, and I'm most excited, I think, about that combination of Danny Boyle and Alex Garland coming back together again. They've both gone on to do some amazing films in the 20 plus years since the first film, both as a pair and separately. So I think it'll be really good to see them come back together with material they are familiar with and see what they can do with 20 years experience under their belts. So I'm really intrigued by it. I think the trailer itself is really well edited and put together, and I think that's a really good example of a trailer that teases the film well without revealing too much. So yes, consider me about 28 times as excited as I was before seeing it.
Like what you did there. Now Zara, I know you've kind of, over the times we've had you on the show talking about horror, you're not a massive horror fan. Although you like to watch stuff at home, just not in the cinema from memory. So you got to watch this, I'm assuming from the safety maybe of a smartphone, maybe from your computer at home. Are you excited for this?
I thought it was a really good trailer. I haven't actually seen the previous installments. Sorry, Hamish. So I'm not really sure. I know the premise, but I'm not really sure if it's going to be something that I'm going to go check out, maybe from my safe place at home on my laptop someday. But the trailer was really good. That poem, Rudyard Kipling, really effectively done. Everyone in the comments being like, I had to turn it off. It was freaking me out. I was like, I think that was the point. Really good trailer.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a mental note for next year, get Zara on to review 28 years later. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm a horror fan. We run a horror festival here at Banterflix, and it's amazing looking back now at 28 Days Later and the kind of influence it had on horror movies since. Okay, they're infected, they're not zombies, kind of fast-moving zombies, terrifying. So yeah, very pumped about this. But that's out next year. I think now, very quickly, before we get into this week's reviews, let's have a look at some of the movies that are hitting cinemas this week.
When the man comes around. When the man comes around. Embrace who you really are, son.
The boy I knew would never wish for war.
The boy you knew is gone.
Fire!
There's so many of them. I pledged to fight for my king.
You know nothing of war.
I'm the fastest rider you have. People need hope here. Something to believe in.
So that's a look at Craven the Hunter and Lord of the Rings, the War of the Rohirrim animated Lord of the Rings movie. These are hitting two films that are hitting cinemas this week. Hamish, come to you first. Any of these you're particularly excited about? I knew just before you came in full Craven the Hunter attire, and I said, I'm sorry, Hamish, that's not out to next week. So I can sense you're very excited about this. Everyone got pumped about this new kind of Sony pseudo Spider-Man-less universe after Madam Web. I know you're very excited. So I'm guessing of these two films, it's going to be Kraven the Hunter.
I'm not so sure about that. The superhero fatigue has well and truly set in, I think. Whilst I enjoyed the likes of Venom: The Last Dance earlier in the year, they are what they are. They're sort of, you know what you're getting yourself in for, so I don't think they're necessarily something to be excited for or looking forward to, but I probably will go see it and enjoy it. I think I'm more intrigued by this Lord of the Rings film. I haven't really enjoyed the Rings of Power TV series. I couldn't really get into that, so I'm excited to see something else from that world and hopefully enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah, I'm of the two, probably the animated Lord of the Rings movie, just because, as you say, it's something a little bit different. We haven't seen Peter Jackson is involved in that. But I'm also intrigued by the fact we've mentioned Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who's going to be in 28 Years Later. Here he's looking rather beefy. So I'm intrigued by it. And this whole kind of Spider-Man universe that Sony are working with, where it doesn't seem to have Spider-Man named in any of the movies. That seems to have been removed post, kind of particularly with Morbius and Madam Web. But hey, we all had fun watching Madam Web earlier this year, so maybe Kraven will be just as fun. Zara, which of the two are you excited about?
Lord of the Rings one, definitely. I don't know anything about Kraven, who he is, what he is. I saw the trailer and I was like, I'm okay, thanks. But yeah, Lord of the Rings looks quite cool. It looks like anime-esque, so it might be quite fun to find out more of the lore. I don't know if it's set before or after, but it might be quite a cool thing to expand that universe. So yeah, I'm excited to check that out. Okay, well, you'll have to wait till next week. We'll be reviewing one of those titles, if not both, on next week's show. But I think we'll move on and talk about movies we have seen.
Where's everybody? I don't know.
What happened?
I believe we are in a crisis.
We already knew that. Why are you covered in mud?
It was the buddies on the ground.
And it attacked you?
What were they then? Terrorists? They loomed threateningly.
Protesters.
That's what I thought too at first.
So that's a look at Rumours. It's getting a limited release in cinemas here. The world is falling apart. The G7 is meeting. They find themselves coming under attack by amorous bog people and giant brains. Political satire with a pretty impressive cast. Kate Blanchett and Charles Dance, Alicia Vikander, to name but three. Zara, I'll come to you first. Did you enjoy this?
I did, yes. Although even with my sort of film background and experiences, I struggled to kind of find something to compare it to, which isn't a bad thing. Kate Blanchett in an interview said that it was even more stupid than the previous work that Guy, Evan and Galen had done, which I thought was great. She also compared it to, she said it was part satire, part episode of Scooby-Doo, which I thought was really quite excellent. Yeah, do you know, I think they could have pushed the envelope a little bit more in terms of having these really talented actors in one place and having this idea, which I think, you know, in its kind of infancy was really, really good. I just don't know if where they went with it was the most effective use of the time that they had and the sort of resources that they had. So yeah, I was left a little bit just thinking they could have done a little bit more with it.
Yeah, I would probably be the same. I think there's an impressive cast here. There's some nice nods. We were just talking there, just when the clip was playing, that this was screened at Belfast Film Festival on the night of the American election. Great bit of programming from the festival. Maybe not the result that we wanted, but we'll leave that to the likes of Slugger O'Toole. This was just a little bit underwhelming for me. There's great ideas, great cast. I just think the execution, ultimately, it's the screenplay itself is not sharp enough. It probably thinks it's clever than it is, but it is also unashamedly silly, absurdist. I will always back films like that. I just thought this was fine. And I think we think of, like you were looking for comparisons, it's not the same, I know, but maybe it lacks some like a Mando Iannucci. I mean, you think The Death of Stalin, maybe in that kind of ensemble nature, not in the execution of the film itself. Yeah, I thought this was fine. Hamish, where are you going to weigh in? Zara and I have been bit underwhelmed? Where are you going to come in on this one?
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I love the idea of this. I think it's a really funny premise to put these really inept world leaders in this apocalyptic event where they have to fend for themselves. I think that in itself is really funny, and there are a lot of sort of gags that are funny without even trying. Just the casting of Charles Dance as the president and then not bothering to do an American accent's genius. But I think when they actually try to bring the comedy into the screenplay, it just doesn't work. There's not enough there. It feels more like an SNL sketch was 5 minutes that's being stretched to feature-length runtime. And in all honesty, I don't think there's enough material there to even be funny for 5 minutes, let alone an hour and 45. So I think it's a really fun idea, and it has some interesting ideas, but they're never backed up with enough comedy to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, as I say, it looks like a lot of the cast and probably crew have had a lot of fun making the film. Sometimes that doesn't result in fun for us to view. But look, mixed bag from our first film this week. We'll move on from the big screen to what you can watch at home.
You're aware we will unite the world against us.
What you're doing is disgusting.
It's wrong! I'm helping people.
Mum, doesn't make it right.
Is it in the interest of science?
Yes.
Infertility is a scientific problem.
It only affects a very small number of women.
Small number. Women presume we can have children. There is a biological and social expectation. Nothing can make that absence worse.
I'm very sorry.
But we have the possibility of making it better.
So that's a look at Joy, available now on Netflix, the origin of the first test tube baby and the genesis of IVF treatment. Out on Netflix now. I've been wanting to watch this for quite some time. I knew it was screened at the London Film Festival. I think that was also screened here at the QFT. Zara, what do you think?
Yeah, I really liked this. I didn't know much about the sort of background of the story, and I thought that was a really good thing that it's sort of getting it out into the world more, how this came to be. I thought Thomasina's portrayal of Jean Purdy was really great. I think she's super. I really liked her in Jojo Rabbit, really liked her in Last Night in Soho. And yeah, just a really important thing. I think funny that this film was highlighting sort of women, and that this lady, Jean, had been kind of erased and not, sort of given the credit that she was due. And this project really puts that to right, which I think is really good. So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I really like this. As someone who is going through the IVF journey at the minute, along with my lovely wife, we found this something we were a bit nervous about watching, because you can go, is there going to be home truth stuff? But I thought very well handled, delicately handled, sensitively handled, and in a way, it sounds like a weird thing, a real crowd pleaser, because it is showcasing the likes. You've got the likes of Bill Nighy, Thomas Mackenzie, who we've mentioned, who is absolutely fab in this, and it is throwing a light on someone who maybe has been overlooked or lost during the genesis and the birth of IVF, no pun intended on that front. But I just thought really well made film that you can, and we always talk about, I know it's a bit kind of a bit tweedy, but you can all kind of sit down and watch. And in that sense, I really, really like this. Well done. I would love to have seen it on the cinema, but the fact that Netflix is there, it's available to watch. This is kind of the stuff I want to see more of Netflix doing, not kind of silly, overblown blockbusters with budgets that are stupid, stupendously stupid. Just shows you when you let actors act and do their thing, and you've got a good script. Yeah, as I say, a real crowd pleaser for me. I enjoyed this. Hamish, what about you?
Yeah, I think it really benefits from its straightforward approach. I think it just goes through the trio's endeavours really methodically, and it has a good summation of the sort of opinions of the time. It's a screenplay that you can anticipate what's going to happen 2 or 3 scenes before, but that's not a bad thing. I think it really works because it's straightforward, and I think ultimately it's a film about giving women choice, and I think it does so well to do that in such an accessible, entertaining fashion. And I think that's important. I think the cast are just also watchable, and even outside the main trio, you've got the likes of Derry Girls as Louisa Harland in a small role, but she was brilliant in it. And I think it has just every part of the script, while straightforward, is just so full of feeling, and it's so genuine. And I think it does so well to just present this really important story like that.
Yeah, as I say, it handles a very delicate subject matter and story, but handles it with a lot of care. So I think thumbs up on our Pick the Streams this week. That, of course, is Joy on Netflix. Let's move on to something completely different. As we say, Christmas season can't begin. The Christmas lights here in the studio have been turned on. Last week we had Hot Frosty, our first festive choice. We're looking at some of the newer Christmas movies. And let's have a look at this week's festive selection.
Every Christmas, something magical happens.
Dear Santa.
When a kid sends a letter to Santa. But Liam...
To Santa.
...is a crappy speller.
This looks like fun.
Oh, that's putrid.
Thank you.
What do you want?
You summoned me.
Not what I expected.
What'd you expect?
In the movies, the reindeer usually have the antlers, not you.
So that's a look at Dear Santa. It's available now on Paramount Plus. Jack Black as a Santa of sorts, a demonic Santa who may or may not be Satan, through a rather convoluted letter to Santa by someone who suffers from dyslexia. And hilarity ensues, or does it? Zara, what do you think?
I liked this. It was good fun. I love Christmas, so anything Christmassy, I'm there. I thought the character of Liam was really funny, like really had comedy chops. I would be interested in see what he does next. I also realised that I still find farts really funny. That was a big takeaway. And that my kingdom for a toilette is one of the best lines I've ever heard in any film ever. So those are my hot takes. Never be ashamed to find farts funny. And I don't think you are ashamed that you're finding farts funny. This is, of course, from Bobby Farrelly, from the Farrelly brothers fame. They kind of split up and do their own projects, although they're both involved in this in a producing capacity. I would love to say, first and foremost, I love Christmas, Zara. I love Christmas, Hamish. And I would love to say I love this film as, well, I'd say like this film as much as you did, Zara. I just felt like this was an hour 40 or whatever it is, an hour and a half of my life I'm not going to get back. I didn't enjoy it. It just felt like there is a premise there. I just don't think the execution is great. I think Jack Black is probably the best thing about it, and even then I didn't like the film, and I just think good Jack Black in comedy roles is like School of Rock, Jack Black. Here we have the kind of Jack Black that we got in the kind of Tenacious D movie, which I find really irritating and not that funny. So I'm not going to be as enthusiastic about it as you. Yes, I'm 42. I love farts as much as you, but I just didn't love this film. Hamish, this is a mixed bag so far, so you have the deciding vote here.
Well, when Jack Black is firing on all cylinders, I'm a big fan of his. As like you say, School of Rock, probably the best example of his comedic work. But that just didn't do it for me this time around, unfortunately. The film starts with a really strange, depressing tone. Like, Liam's parents are decorating the tree and they're bickering, but it's not like a lighthearted, like, Christmas movie bickering. It's really heavy stuff, and it seems a really strange place to start a kid's Christmas movie from, and the attempts at humour just didn't work for me. There's an ongoing joke about terminal illness, which is just so distasteful, and it wasn't funny the first time, and then they string it out throughout the whole film. I don't understand what the appeal of this is to anyone, and I think the ending especially is just very misjudged and sort of confirms it to be the Christmas turkey that it is. And it was so bad, I think I'm going to say it's my worst film of the year.
Oh, now that's a high bar this year with some of the movies we've seen, or a low bar, I should say. But Hamish, more importantly, our viewers want to know, where do you stand on fart jokes?
When they're done well, but not here. I can't even remember them in this, so I think that says it all. I wish there was a funny fart joke I could have laughed at.
There we go. Well, we heard it here first. But look, as I say, we are trying out some of the kind of newer Christmas movies that are out this year. I'm going to give you a moment to kind of think of some of the Christmas movies as we get closer to the big day. Asking kind of what are some of your favourite Christmas movies? I'm not going to ask you particularly your favourite, but just some of the ones you will definitely be watching. But earlier, of course, we had Zach Galligan, Gremlins. It's celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. So when we reached out to Zach, we asked him to talk about some of the Christmas movies that he loves.
I love Christmas. This is a great time of year. And obviously, with Gremlins being such a Christmas film, it's a lot of fun for me because my phone blows up and people are always sending me stuff and I'm always getting notifications from people, you know, like, hey, I'm in the Canary Islands and I'm watching Gremlins. Hey, I'm down South Africa and I'm watching Gremlins. Hey, I'm in Tokyo and I'm watching Gremlins. So it's bizarre to be me and to see how many people in December are watching this film 40 years later to kind of get in the mood for the Christmas cheer. Also, the Banterflix people asked me if I would mention some of my favorite Christmas movies. I wish I had something really, you know, interesting and original to say about Christmas movies, but I like all of the classic ones. A Christmas Story is interesting. It's not one of my favorites because I think I didn't grow up with it, but I didn't grow up with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I really love that one. And obviously, you have to say It's a Wonderful Life because, hey, Joe Dante put it in Gremlins, right? My mom, I catch my mom sniffling to it in the kitchen in the opening 20 minutes of Gremlins. So there you go. One other thing I was going to add too is it's not a Christmas movie, but I don't know if you guys, do you ever have those 2-hour long things of the Yule log? Just like the crackling log on the fire. Sometimes I'll just click that on. It's not a movie, but it is visual. And I'll just veg out, stare off into space at the Yule log for 10 or 15 minutes. It's just peaceful and really beautiful. So there you go, Banterflix. Hope you're happy with this. And maybe I'll see you the next time I'm in Northern Ireland, okay? You guys take care.
So that's Zach talking about some of his festive favourites this year. Now I turn to my guests here in the studio. Hamish, I'll come to you first. You want to wash away the bad taste left by Dear Santa. I know that. I'm sensing maybe the holiday, possibly. Like all of us, we want to get lost in Jude Law's dreamy eyes. Who wouldn't? But what will you be making sure that this year, around Christmas, you'll be watching?
Well, considering we didn't enjoy Rumours with Cate Blanchett, I think I'm going to have to give a shout out to Carol. It's one of my all-time favourite Christmas movies. I always make an effort and go see it at the QFT at Christmas time. They usually have it on as part of their Christmas programme. I just adore Cate Blanchett, pretty much. That's the selling point. She is wearing lavish coats. She's going to fancy toy shops. She's leaving gloves seductively behind for Rooney Mara to find what's not to like. She's just brilliant, and her picking out Christmas trees whilst seductively doing that with her coat, it's just brilliant. It's something different from the all-out Christmas films. It's sort of a different angle. It's nice to have films sort of set at Christmas, not necessarily about Christmas, but it's basically just Cate Blanchett's in it. Have I said that?
Cate Blanchett's in it, and it sounds like by watching this, you can rewatch Carol, Hamish, and forgive Cate for Rumours, because you're not angry, you're just disappointed. That's all we should say. So Zara, what about you? What will be the movies in the Jackson household you'll make sure to be watching before the big day?
Well, I am ashamed to say that I only watched Home Alone for the first time last Christmas. So I think Home Alone 2 needs to be on that list, Alone in New York. So yeah, that's going to be one of them for sure. I think Elf, we've already established where my humour lies. So I think, yeah, Elf has to be on that list. And then Gremlins, yeah, also a super film. I think it's really well done. I think it's really sort of, the subject matter isn't heartfelt, but it really showcases it in a really sort of emotive way, which I really like. So yeah, they'd be my favourites.
There we go. So great choices. I look forward to hear what you think of Home Alone 2. A lot darker than the first film, without a doubt. So you've that to look forward to. And that pretty much brings us to an end this week. So all I have time for is to thank my two guests here in the studio. So thank you very much, Zara.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Hamish.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks very much for watching at home. Of course, thanks to Zach for turning on our Christmas lights this week here in the studio. We'll be back next week with another episode. But for now, until then, goodbye.